Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of the newly titled PTW Podcast. You play to win. That's the point of this podcast in general. The upcoming football season is almost upon us. Thursday night games start next Thursday, a week from tomorrow at the time of this recording. Super exciting. We got so much to talk about. My name is Amir. To my left or right is Anastasios, also known as Tossi, the football Greek. And yeah, man, a lot going on this week. From the last time we recorded to this week, so much has happened, so much NFL news, right? Like a bunch of players getting shuffled around,
cut down
day, all that kind of stuff. Let's get your general take, man. And as a Niners fan, let's start with this whole Brandon Aiyuk thing. Like, what are your thoughts? You guys thought you were like
so annoying.
You guys thought you were.
This is like torture.
He's gonna come back. He's gonna come back, and everything's good. Also, all settled to go. And here we go. Wednesday practice offsets. Well, what are your thoughts?
So, I mean, he was supposed to be in practice. He told our office that they were going to be at the practice, and they were reporting he was going to be in practice. And then practice comes, and he's not in practice. So there's a lot of things that are going to happen now.
Yep.
Essentially, we're talking about getting fined.
Yep.
Other things as far as, like, is he going to actually be with the team now? Because it seems like John Lynch looks like he's fed up.
He's like over it.
So
at this point, yeah, I would be too, man. And to be honest, as a fan, I would be over it. Like, I would be like, you know what? At this point, if you really don't want to be with the team that bad, like where you're not even doing a hold in, you're doing a hold out, and you're playing games like this where like, oh yeah, I'm gonna report to practice, and then you don't. I would just be at the point where like, all right, just go. Like, I don't want to deal with this.
Yeah.
Is that where you're at? Like, as a Niners fan?
I mean, I still want to be part of the team because I want them to win.
Yeah.
And he gives them the best chance to win. They're pretty thin at receiver.
Yeah.
I mean, they signed like Terrace Marshall Jr. from Carolina. You know, they cut him.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, he's not Brandon Aiyuk. And then we got some rookies. I mean, I know Jacob Cowling's had a good camp, but Pearsall's been hurt. So it kind of like leaves just Debo, essentially, and Juwan Jennings, who's been good in spots, but I still need Aiyuk to be part of the team. We want to win a Super Bowl. I mean, come on.
The possibilities are still there, man. The possibilities are still there. I mean, I think things could get figured out, right? I mean, the season, y'all don't play until Monday night, right? So there's time, right? We've got a week from tomorrow.
11 days.
Yeah, we've pretty much got 11 days to figure this out, get them on the field for week one, kiss and make up, be friends, and play the season.
We'll see. It's going to be tough, man.
It's going to be tough for sure, but we'll see where that goes. Sticking with receiver, Jamar Chase, man, he's showing up in
same situation,
practicing for 10 minutes, walking off the field, calling it a day. Zach Taylor saying we're just going to continue to take it day by day. Like, what's going on there? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, he wants to get paid. And he's the same as Aiyuk.
The receiver market, man. I mean, CeeDee Lamb just got, his new contract and stuff. Tyreek got more money. Justin Jefferson got his deal early on in the offseason back in May.
Yeah, this year's been crazy. It's like wide receiver getting.
Yep.
So everyone wants to get paid. They see everybody else getting paid. They see the guys at their level to get paid, so they want to get paid too.
Yeah. That's a situation where I don't think anything extreme is going to happen. I don't think he's going to hold out or anything like that. I think they'll figure that out, right? I mean, I don't think the Cincinnati front office runs the risk now that they've got Joe Burrow back, healthy, ready to go. I mean, they've got other pieces for sure, but I think that's something that I don't think you want to mess with a good thing, right? I think that's something that they can go to the table. They can figure that out. I think hopefully that gets figured out.
They can't afford not having Jamar Chase.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that gets figured out before week one. One of the more like under the radar signings, in my opinion, was Dalvin Cook being picked up by the Cowboys.
Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, and this to me, I think is actually a really smart signing because people forget. Granted, he didn't have a great season with the Jets, and I think 14 games in, he got traded or got released and got signed by the Ravens. So not a great season for Dalvin Cook last year. But before that, he was like one of the darlings of the NFL and was like one of those like high profile free agent signings. Everyone was like, where's Dalvin Cook going to go? Where's Dalvin Cook going to go? There was this thing about him possibly going to the Dolphins forever. I mean, we flirted with him for months only to have him go to the Jets, right?
Jets, yeah.
So I think this is still a good player, a good to great player that's going on a team that desperately needs an RB2 behind Zeke, and I think this is the right move.
Yeah, I mean, I think Cowboys had like pretty much no running game essentially. They have an old Zeke who, with New England last year had a decent season, but I mean, he could not run the ball. He was getting all his fantasy points catching the ball.
Yeah.
And so he would get like 1 or 2 yards a pop. They can't do that again. And then Rico Dowdy is kind of unproven. Yep. So they're trying to add a little bit more juice to that room and, picking up Dalvin Cook, guy who's a Pro Bowler. And, he still might have something left. So we'll see how that plays out. But I think it's a good move for them. It's worth the try, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a good move, personally. And so it gets me a little bit more excited about their offense. I think there's another weapon that they can utilize there, right? Like big bruiser kind of running back, just runs downhill, runs heavy. So I'm actually excited to see what they can do. But that
should help their offense for sure.
For sure. So we're gonna pivot now and start talking about, we're talking about players and other things happen, but we'll allude to them in another segment that we'll do later on in this episode. But we're getting to the point where the draft is coming up for a lot of people. Some people have already done
fantasy drafts, favorite time of year,
and some people haven't done them yet, right? So I alluded to this in our previous episode. You are a fantasy guru, if you will. Self-appointed maybe, but a good one. And so you really know your fantasy. And so I
do.
Yeah, we thought, it'd be really fun to really go per round, pick, a favorite player or sleepers, who to target in the later rounds, all that kind of stuff. So I'll let you take the lead on this. I'll kind of pick
the Holy Grail. I've got it right here.
Yeah, there you go. You want to show it off? Like show off your sheet there, bro. You need a little cheat sheet. Look at that. Handwritten notes, ladies and gentlemen.
Handwritten
for
round by round.
For our audio only people, Tassi has a computer sheet of paper that has handwritten notes round by round of players in order of highest priority to
sacred timeline.
Sacred timeline. All right. So let's get started. So yeah, let's talk the draft. Let's go round one.
Mm-hmm.
What are you thinking? What's the go-to?
So I mean, with round one, it's kind of like you've got your top 5 players, I would say, in CMC, Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson, Tyreek Hill, and CeeDee Lamb. Yep. And I think like in any order you want to put those guys, like depending on if you value receiver more or running back, like in the first round, I think any one of those 5 guys, you're going to be okay. Yeah. So, I have them personally ranked as CMC, Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb, Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson.
Okay.
And then to round out the rest of the first round, and this is like based on the Yahoo mock drafts that I've been doing and looking at and seeing like the top 10 guys that are going. You got Justin Jefferson at 6, and then Saquon at 7. Jamar Chase, if he gets back and plays in the season, which I'm sure he will, because we talked about it.
Yes.
And then the Browns. So we got AJ Brown and Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Okay.
The Egyptian god of fantasy football, I guess.
Love it. I love it. Okay, cool. So
that's my top 10 for the first round.
Round one.
So take it or leave it. Like, whether you have the 10th pick or the first pick, I mean, obviously it's going to be different, but
Yeah.
that's kind of like where I'm at with my rankings of the first round.
Yeah.
And then, so moving on to like the second round, like I really like three guys.
Okay.
I really like Garrett Wilson coming back with healthy Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
So hopefully he'll get the season that we thought he was going to have last year.
Right.
Kyron Williams again. He was a league winner for a lot of people who picked him up on waivers week one.
Mm-hmm.
But this year he's going to be again the bell cow back for Sean McVay, and he always has
For sure.
great fantasy value. So I like him. And then Buka, the other guy on the Rams, that was really good. So I expect him to back it up. He's a baller, that guy, man. He works hard. It's like, they call him Pukatron, or I think what's his nickname.
He's pretty incredible.
And then
for sure. Yeah.
Jahmyr Gibbs is the last guy in the second round that I'd be targeting, and that kind of in that order. So Garrett Wilson's my first guy in that second round as far as tier, like as far as what I want.
Yeah.
And on the Jahmyr Gibbs on the end there, it was explosive, and he did split time with David Montgomery in Detroit, but I think he's gonna have a big season this year.
As we're talking, I'm looking at the Pro Football Focus rankings as well. And so, like, it's just, and maybe you'll allude to this in the third, but like, what were you thinking? Like Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to land, or like Devontae Adams is going to land? Like big names, Marvin Harrison Jr. rookie, but people are really excited about him and what he could possibly do with the Cardinals. What are your thoughts?
Yeah,
thinking third round, or
he's going to be a baller.
Yeah,
I would say top two as far as our rookie wide receivers. Him and Malik Neighbors are the guys that I like a lot.
Okay.
So, but Marvin Harrison Jr. I think is going to go at the top of the third round or the end of the second. I would say those are the two spots where I could, I'd be drafting him. If all those other guys are gone, but like with a rookie wide receiver, you don't know what you're going to get, but you don't know how Kyler's going to be this year. But honestly, he's worth the risk at the top of the third for sure.
Yeah, Kyler Murray to me is the wild card and all of that. Not necessarily Marvin. Yeah. It's can Kyler Murray be the Kyler Murray of old, the one who was like, the league on fire pre-COVID. You know what I mean? Like that's the player. If Kyler Murray gets back to that, then Marvin Harrison Jr. could have just a crazy year. Okay.
Yeah.
Round 3.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with my guy in round 3, my favorite pick, and this has to do with the Aiyuk situation too, Deebo Samuel. Okay. I think he's Deebo Samuel Jr. now. That's what he's going by. Or maybe senior. No, he's Deebo Samuel Senior on his jersey, number 1. Jersey I was wearing last week, but last show. But he's going to ball out this year if he doesn't have, if Aiyuk gets traded, or if he's not up to snuff. We've seen a lot of guys who hold out. They just don't have the same season. They just have a bad either start or, just never kind of gets on track. So I can see Deebo being the Deebo of 2021, when he had a bunch of touchdowns, and he looks really good in camp this year too. He came out in shape, so I can see him having a big season. So he's a good value in round 3, I think, for sure. And then the other guy that I really like, and this has to do with AJ Dillon. Well, that was another piece of news that kind of was a little quieter, but he's out for the year. They put him on IR, so Josh Jacobs has that backfield in Green Bay all to himself. So he's a target there in the third round that I would say he has the potential to be like a top 5 running back this year. If especially in LaFleur's system, it's kind of like Shanahan's. They like to run the ball a lot, and he's going to catch the ball in the backfield. So I could see him, having a big year. So those two guys in the third round, get some good value there for sure.
Value for sure.
Yeah. Drake London was the last guy that I liked too. Drake London. He's going to have Kirk Cousins, so I could see him taking off like Justin Jefferson did with Minnesota. With how Kirk Cousins was his quarterback. They don't got a lot of other weapons. They got Kyle Pitts and they got Bijan Robinson. And so with those three guys, like I think their offense is going to be pretty good. And then Tyler Algier is going to have some carries too for them.
Atlanta to me is that team that's going to be sneaky, man.
Yeah, I can see it.
That division to me is up for the taking. So like I think Atlanta has the potential to really do some awesome stuff this year. Okay, so going into the fourth, is this where you start looking at quarterbacks? Is it kind of around this round?
This is when I would draft a quarterback, and like we talked about last show, I really like CJ Stroud this year, so I would be targeting CJ Stroud in this round. And if Josh Allen's still around, like he's still like my number one fantasy quarterback, so I would, if he's there, I would go Josh Allen first, CJ Stroud second, then like a guy like Jalen Hurts, Pat Mahomes, like those guys. Like I would say fourth round is where I'd be targeting those top 4 or 5 quarterbacks.
Yeah, fantasy pro tip: if you have Josh Allen on your bench and he's playing the Dolphins, make sure to start him.
Yeah, he always goes off against the Dolphins.
No, I mean, I'm not mad at it at all in any way, shape, or form. But it's a fact up until the Dolphins wrong, which I hope they do this year.
Hopefully
they do. But
hopefully for your sake,
my sake. Please, for my own sanity.
But it's week 2, man. Like we said, you're still worried. You're like, yeah, it's over. Season's done. Week 2.
I could not care less about week 1. I'm like all focused on Thursday Night Football week 2 at Hard Rock against Buffalo. Anyways,
yeah,
that to me is where the season starts. Okay,
hopefully they can beat the Bills for once.
Is this where you have Lamar Jackson too in the 4th round, or is he more of like a 5th round pick for you, or where are you thinking he goes?
Yeah, I think you could get Lamar Jackson a little bit later, but you could probably get him in the 5th or even the 6th round. Because I think once people start kind of taking quarterbacks, then you kind of get a run on them, right? So it's possible that once you start the kickoff of taking quarterbacks, and in the 4th round, you're going to probably see guys want to swoop them up. And then if you're one of the last guys to take a quarterback, you can kind of wait, because people aren't going to try to take like 2 quarterbacks within the first 8 rounds, I would say. So
this is the MVP, man. Put some respect on his name, bro. Like you got, you gotta snap him up if he's there in the 4th. I sure take him. Let's go to the 5th. Let's go to the 5th round.
Mm-hmm.
We got there.
So 5th round. 2 guys that I really like, Malik Neighbors, the Giants rookie wide receiver. Like we kind of said, I would say he has a chance to be the rookie of the year. I know Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be pretty awesome, but I think that the Giants have like no other offensive players. I mean, I know they have Devin Singletary at running back, but other than that, like they're pretty bare. And they're going to be behind a lot. They're going to be throwing the ball a lot. And Jalen Jones is decent. He'll probably get him the ball a ton. So I would expect Malik Neighbors to have a monster season. You're going to get good value in the 5th round there. And then the other guy I really like is Alvin Kamara this year. The Saints' new OC is Clint Kubiak. He comes from the Shanahan tree. So I expect them to do a lot of that zone blocking, outside zone runs, and Kamara really excels in that stuff. So I think he's going to have a really nice season, and he's been going at round 5 in a lot of the drafts. It's a good guy to target right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
6th round. What you got going on?
Yeah.
There?
So here's where I'm looking at tight end. So a guy like Trey McBride, George Kittle, one of those guys, to play tight end.
Travis Kelce.
Travis Kelce's probably going to go a little sooner. So I think Travis Kelce's probably going to go in the 2nd round. And he had a kind of an off, bad year last year. And I don't really see him I see him kind of like on his way down. I mean, I know he had a good playoffs, but like, in the Super Bowl, he didn't have a catch, when Greenlaw wasn't, running on the sideline and tearing his Achilles, but as soon as he went out, like then all of a sudden Travis Kelce like went off in the second half, and, Chiefs ended up winning the Super Bowl. But, I think that injury out of everything was probably the biggest thing that happened, because that changed their coverage schemes, and Kelce was getting open, like all day in the second half, and Mahomes took advantage of that. So, but yeah, Kelce is the guy. He's probably the first tight end off the board. Him and Sam Laporta from Detroit.
Right. Yep. Okay, so you got Kittle in the 6th. Who was the other player?
Trey McBride from Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah, he kind of came on strong last year, and like I would target him, and or like a guy like Mark Andrews if he's still there. I still think that he's gonna be a big target from Lamar, and the offense they run. He loves his tight end, so I can see Mark Andrews having a bounce back year after he had last year was like pretty much injured the entire year. So I think he has a bounce back year this year.
We're going to round 10. Yes, we got 4 more rounds.
Yeah, I got 4 more rounds. So next round is your guy that I really loved. Round 7 is Raheem Mostert. He's going in round 7 right now, and like you're talking about a guy who led the league in touchdowns last year.
That is disrespectful. That is disrespectful to Raheem.
It really is. But everybody has their worries. I think we discussed the worries last show, about the health, and then the other 2 guys that are, A-Chain and Jalen Wright, that are going to be behind him, and they're going to get carries too this year. I think
he's a year older, right? He's a year, another year.
He's into his 30s.
His 30s. Miami does look like they'll be spreading the love a little bit more with Echan and with Jalen Wright. Raheem Mostert is not going to be the bell cow. And I think that suits him from a fantasy perspective, probably not the best, but from a overall player health standpoint, this is a dude who killed it for 14, 15 weeks, and then, got banged up in week 16, 17 when the Dolphins really needed him. And so they're probably going to try to do their best to preserve his overall longevity, right?
Yeah.
So 7th round makes sense. Like, as a Dolphins fan, like, I get the reasoning behind it. Still doesn't homeboy scores 18, 19, touchdowns.
Yeah.
And then a 20.
He got to 20.
20 if you include, receptions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Receiving touchdowns and stuff. And so, yeah, man, that's maybe
you look at his counterpart was McCaffrey, right? Like him and McCaffrey were going back and forth for the most touchdowns. McCaffrey's the first pick. Mostert is
7th round.
7th rounds.
Why not?
70 plus. So
people just don't throw the ball all day, every day. That's pretty much what everyone's mindset is. But
yeah, I think Tua is going to be launching it up.
Yeah, especially I mean, I
Tyreek
all day, but we don't want to do that. We're talking about the draft right now. Okay, so Mostert in the 7th. Who else was?
2 other guys I like in the 7th round. Tank Dell coming off the injury. I think CJ Stroud, like I said, is going to have a big year, and he's going to be throwing to his guys. And I think Tank Dell's going to have a nice bounce back from injuries type of season. He was really showing out like in his first rookie year, and so I think he kind of picks up where he left off and keeps it going. And then the other guy is T. Higgins. You can get Bengals receiver.
Sure. Well, yeah, for the moment. But if that Chase Brown stuff,
Jamar Chase, Jamar Chase
Brown, if the Jamar Chase stuff doesn't get taken care of, T. Higgins shoots up to like 2nd, 3rd round, right?
I mean, he could be a top 5 receiver.
Yeah,
if Jamar Chase doesn't play, right? So,
I mean,
could be, like that's a league winner right there, right? Like if that kind of thing happens,
right? To go from the 7th to possibly the 1st, just if one player doesn't report or wants to hold out or anything. Okay, 3 more rounds It's rapid fire.
Yeah.
Round 8. Who do you got?
I got Zamir White from the Raiders. He's going to be the primary ball carrier. Josh Jacobs in Green Bay. So it's a good pick right there. You always want to get starting running backs. Guys going to get a lot of touches. I think he's going to have a bunch of touches, and there's a chance that he's going to have a good season. So good value there in round 8.
Sure.
And then round 9, I'm looking at Zach Moss, my sleeper pick, the guy that I think is going to have a big year. He's available there in that range.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that, we talked about, Chase Brown's going to get some play, but he's more of a change of pace guy. I think Zach Moss is going to score the touchdowns. He's going to get us a bunch of points, which we want in fantasy, right? We want those points.
Want
us those touchdowns.
PTW, we play to win.
Yeah, play to win. You play to win the game, right? That's the old saying.
Saying that we all in.
Yeah, exactly.
Round 10.
So around 10, I'm looking at Green Bay rookie wide receiver last year, Jaden Reed. This year will be second year, coming out again. So that's the guy that's available in that round that I would be looking at. And then I would also do a little gamble in this round. Looks like Nick Chubb is going in this round. So he's going to be on PUP list to start the year, but he's one of those guys you can put on your bench, put on your I slot, and then at the end of the year, he's going to be, if he's Nick Chubb, he's going to be awesome. And then you've got a number 1 running back that you got in the 10th round.
When do you start going for defenses and kickers?
Yeah. So I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait till my second to last pick for the defense. And, there's a bunch of good matchups and defenses that you can pick up. 2 of them being the Houston Texans. I think with D'Amico, Ryans, another year coaching those guys. He's a great D coordinator, and I think his defense is going to be even more improved. And then the other one that I like week 1 especially is New Orleans Saints. They're playing against Carolina and Bryce Young, and I still don't believe that he's going to have a good season. I think he's going to have another. I just don't know if he's the player that they thought he was when they drafted him first overall.
I haven't seen anything yet that would change my mind at the moment. Let's see how the season plays out. But yeah, I would tend to agree with you there. Okay, so those were Tossie's picks.
Wait.
Not done.
Kicker. Last round.
Throw a dart. Disrespect on my part.
Dude, come on, man. It matters. If you still play with a kicker in your league, a lot of people don't anymore, but we still do. So just throw a dart. If you're the guy that kicks the long field goals,
2 points or something like that, you need a kicker.
Yeah, exactly. What Legatron back in the day, or
if you're lucky enough to get Tucker or Aubrey or anything like that.
Justin Tucker. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Aubrey from the Cowboys, those guys. I think even Jake Moody for the Niners, he's got a big leg. So hopefully with the experience with last year having in the Super Bowl and kicking a couple of long field goals in the Super Bowl 50+. Yeah. So, hopefully he doesn't shank as many this year as he did last year. It'd be better for the Niners.
Hey man, depends on the environment, right? If it's windy, if it's cold, if it's hot as hell.
There's a lot of stuff that goes into it.
A lot of variables, man. Okay, so that was Tossie's picks for 10 rounds of fantasy.
You guys just killed it in the draft. If you're listening to me, don't listen to me in my draft. Those of you that are in my draft, don't listen to me. Those wrong picks.
Exactly as you said against him, right? And right. So let us know what you thought in the comment section down below, or if you're listening on the podcast, if there's some way to get a hold of us, hit us up on our Instagram page or anything like that. So let us know what you think, how your draft went, all that kind of stuff. And if you're enjoying this episode so far, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. We will be making at least one of these per week, if not 2 of them per week, definitely during the regular season, 2 of these per week, one on Wednesday night before the Thursday night game takes place, and one on either Monday night or Tuesday night after a Monday night game has taken place, kind of revisiting the prior week and just talking about, what game stood out to us, any news or anything like that. So make sure you subscribe to the PTW podcast. This is something that we are enjoying doing so far. And we'll go from there. All right. So the next thing,
a lot of fun.
It's definitely been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed this so far. The next thing we're going to talk about is that a lot of veteran quarterbacks are starting out with new teams. Okay, so we've got Kirk Cousins, who's going to Atlanta. We've got Russell Wilson, who's now with Pittsburgh. We've even got Sam Darnold, who's with Minnesota.
Hey, Sam Darnold, man.
You never know what he can do. I mean, he's got Justin Jefferson as his wide receiver, right?
He does.
And I like Minnesota.
Pretty good guy to have to fight those ghosts.
I like Minnesota's coach. So we'll see. And I'm actually throwing in Aaron Rodgers in here as well. And that's because, granted, it's his second year with the Jets. He played 4 snaps with the Jets last year.
Yeah.
And that's it, right? So I don't think you can count that as a season. I don't even think he completed a pass. I'm actually pretty sure
No. I don't think he did either. I think he went drop back.
Yeah. And
towards Achilles, and that was it.
Here's what we're doing. We're including Aaron Rodgers in that. And our question is this: which veteran quarterback is best suited to have success on their new team? And I think the default answer is going to be Aaron Rodgers, but I'm very curious on your take on this. I'll give you my take after you kind of explain your take on this. But is it going to be Rodgers? Is it going to be Cousins? Is it Wilson? Sam Darnold? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I mean, they were just announced today. Mike Tomlin announced that Russell Wilson won the QB job over Justin Fields. So I would have said, if it was the opposite, Justin Fields would have won the QB job in Pittsburgh, I would have said he actually had the best chance to have a really good fantasy season. Justin Fields with his legs and, being able to throw the ball and, do all those things that he does. He's pretty dynamic. I would have expected him to have a good fantasy season. But as far as now that it's Russell Wilson in Pittsburgh, I don't even expect him to finish the season as QB1, to be honest. Yeah. So not Russell Wilson. So for me, it's between Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers. Like, I do think Aaron Rodgers is going to have the best season out of all of those guys, all the new, faces in different places, or, whatever you want to say it. But, Aaron Rodgers coming off the torn Achilles, he's got Garrett Wilson, he's got Breece Hall, he's got the Jets defense that's going to be good again, with Sauce, and, they're going to be doing their thing. So I think the Jets are going to have a good year, and they're going to be fighting with the Dolphins and Buffalo to win that division. And I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be the guy. And then, so I'd like to hear your thoughts.
So I'm going to go, I'm the opposite of where you're going. Only because I happen to root for a team whose quarterback injured his Achilles.
Yeah.
San Marino tore his Achilles. You can ask any Dolphin fan, any Dolphin beat writer you want. When he came back, he wasn't the same quarterback. He not that he played scared. I don't think Dan Marino ever played scared, but it just that urgency, that like preciseness that he had, that like he was just the top of the top pre Achilles injury, and then afterwards you can almost kind of see the doubt in his playing. Not to say that like he wasn't good. He was always a great quarterback, and obviously in Dolphins lore, the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
But he wasn't the same. And so for me, I have a really hard time wrapping my head around the idea that Aaron Rodgers is going to be this baller post Achilles injury. Like, not to say that he's going to be bad. I'm not saying that. I'm saying Aaron Rodgers is going to be a very competent quarterback. I think he's going to be as good as he probably was in his last season with Green Bay, maybe a notch below that, maybe a notch above that. But this is the same guy who, going to the playoffs, would struggle. In that NFC Championship games against the Niners, would struggle. Whatever. Like, this is the dude where, like, there was some doubt there. Miami played a game against Green Bay when Rodgers was the quarterback, and this was the game where Tua got his third concussion. Prior to Tua's concussion, Miami was winning that game. Like it was very even. If not, Miami was the better team. That concussion happened, and Tua threw 3 interceptions, and we didn't know he was concussed until the next day.
Yeah.
Not to say
that was the whole situation.
That was the whole situation.
That was the whole situation.
So I have a hard time buying into the idea that Rodgers is going to immediately, because when I think of the word success, I think not just statistically, but I think winning games, and having a winning season, over 500, getting to the playoffs, etc. Like that to me is overall success, right? So I don't necessarily know if that's a possibility. I could be proven wrong. And week 5 say Aaron Rodgers is back. It's the real deal. The Jets are they're going to win the AFC East. All of that. But until I see him play a full game with the Jets and see what he looks like post Achilles, and this is a team that, by the way, just came off of having quote unquote the worst practice that they've ever had. Aaron Rodgers going on record saying like that was one of the worst practices I've ever been associated with, right? So who knows?
It's kind of a drama queen, huh?
But really the whole team. So believe it or not, for me, it's Russ, and I'll tell you why.
I thought you were going to say Cousins.
Oh,
surprising me.
I don't think Cousins finishes the season. I think Michael Penix. I don't think you draft a quarterback 8th overall.
Yeah.
To sit him the entire season. I don't think that's the case. I think Wilson. Huge chip on his shoulder. And I think Mike Tomlin is the right coach to make him ball the F out.
So you see Danger Russ making a comeback. Russ Danger or whatever.
Why not? Tools are there. He was Russell Wilson before he left Seattle was always a good quarterback. He wasn't terrific per se, but he wasn't terrible. He wasn't the quarterback that showed up in Denver. It was very obvious that the relationship between Russell Wilson and Sean Payton just didn't work.
Yeah, from the beginning, like Sean Payton came in and was like talking to him, telling him
oil and water, right? Like just not meant for one another. And look at the success that Bo Nix is having. So Sean Payton's a competent coach. Look what he did with Drew Brees. So like, it's not that necessarily, and you could argue that Drew Brees made Sean Payton just like Tom Brady made Bill Belichick. You can make that argument, but that's not to say that Russell Wilson didn't help Pete Carroll, and Pete Carroll didn't help Russell Wilson. Like that thing. Like this is important. This is the thing that people don't realize, right? Like a player like
symbiotic.
A player like Tom Brady is 1 in a million who can go from the New England Patriots and then go to a Bruce Arians Tampa Bay Buccaneers and win his first season. That is rare.
While not getting along with the coach.
Rare.
Because he didn't like Arians.
Doesn't exist, right? Expect quarterbacks to just hop from one team to the next and take that success with them. Look at how Favre was with the Jets. Didn't work out, but when he went to Minnesota, Favre was balling again. Look at Montana when he went to the Chiefs. Baller, but to the level that he was as a Niner? No. I mean, there are case after case after case of quarterbacks moving teams that either have more success with their new team. Look at Drew Brees and the Saints versus Drew Brees with the Chargers, right? Had more success as a Saint versus the players that do move. A Dante Culpepper who was with the Vikings and then moves over to Miami and craps the bed, right? So to me, Russell Wilson in Denver was not a good match. And to him in Pittsburgh with Tomlin makes perfect sense. And if it doesn't work out, obviously you have Justin Fields there as well. But to me, of those 3 names, the one I'm excited about the most is Russell Wilson. Because like that is a redemption story. Imagine if Russell Wilson takes the Steelers to the playoffs and wins a game. It doesn't have to win the Super Bowl. Wins a game.
Yeah.
Talk of the NFL is going to be like just like Geno Smith. When Geno Smith was like written out of the NFL and it was like, oh, he's just a backup. And he comes to Seattle, balls out and gets a new and earns a new
He
contract.
didn't write them back.
Right? He didn't write them. So that to me is where I'm at, right? I think that's the story I'm excited about the most.
Yeah.
Listen, if Rodgers comes out and balls, I will eat my words and like for sure. The homeboy, I have no qualms with Aaron Rodgers, right? But I just don't see it yet. And so for me, Russell Wilson is a more intriguing story. Let's go from veterans to rookies. We've got a handful of rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Starting, we got Caleb Williams in Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
Washington, Drake May, New England, Bo Nix in Denver, and potentially Michael Penix. Now, Michael Penix currently not starting.
Yeah.
And I, said earlier, I don't necessarily think Cousins is finishing the season. I truly actually do think that Cousins is one and done in Atlanta. I think some other team will pick up his contract. Some quarterback hungry team will be like, "Yep, we'll take him. Thank you." And
hopefully not the Niners.
And we'll move on with
we all know Shanahan's love affair with Kirk Cousins, right?
And Kirk is a baller. But what do you think? What do you think of that? What do you think will have the best rookie season, best for a quarterback amongst those individuals?
So I really like Bo Nix in Denver to have a big year. He just seems like he's solid and he's going to make plays. And in Sean Payton's offense, he's going to have a good season for a rookie QB. I feel like he's going to be the number one guy. I think Caleb Williams, James Daniels are going to be good, and Washington and Chicago respectively. But I think that Bo Nix is the guy that I would be like, okay, dude, this guy is going to kind of be the one that comes out of nowhere. Not nowhere essentially, but like he wasn't expected to ball out like Caleb Williams or James Daniels. He wasn't, top 2 picks, but
the last pick of the first quarterbacks go. We see the last pick of the first round.
So he was the last of those quarterbacks to go, and I think he's going to be the best of them this year.
Okay,
it's a bold take. I know it's bold.
That is a bold.
Got to be bold.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, because JJ McCarthy. Excuse me, I said JJ Daniels. JJ McCarthy was 10th overall.
Minnesota.
Mm-hmm. Nix is 12th overall, right? So he was the last quarterback taken in the first round amongst all. You're thinking is that just because he's in the right situation, like with Sean Payton? The team's kind of already set and like ready.
I do. I think with Sean Payton, I think they got decent run game with Javonte Williams, and then I think McLaughlin's gonna a good change of pace back, and then they got some receivers there and Cortland Sutton, that I think, he's going to have some weapons, and he's in a good system, and, he's a big dude. He's, big, strong arm quarterback. So he's got some mobility too. So I think he's going to have a really good season for a rookie QB.
I like it.
Not like necessarily like a Brock Purdy type season. In his first season, they go to the NFC Championship game, and he busts his shoulder, and then next year follows it up with a Super Bowl appearance, almost beats Mahomes, takes it to overtime. I mean, talk about that, man. The disrespect that Brock Purdy gets. I feel like we got to talk about that at some point. Because the guy's like a really an amazing like a Disney story, Purdy, right?
Brock Purdy, not to get off topic. Brock Purdy. Yeah. Is an incredible story. I mean, people, romanticize the Tom Brady story of sixth round pick, 199th draft pick overall, or whatever it was, and goes on to be, in my opinion, unarguably the greatest football player of all time. But there is something to be said about the last pick of the NFL draft, literally Mr. Irrelevant.
Never been done before.
Diamond in the rough, being this dude who, and you and I were at the game.
First game he came in. I remember I told you, I'm like, oh dude, all right, game's over. We're done. We're gonna lose. And then all of a sudden the dude's just balling out, throwing touchdown passes.
quarterback before him? Why can't I remember his name?
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Thank you. Garoppolo goes down. Miami sacks him, I think, like on a 3rd and goal. Throws like an incomplete pass. San Francisco has to settle for a field goal. And then the next round of plays, like Garoppolo comes in, and we're like, "Oh, we got this in the bag. It's their 3rd year."
Yeah, Brock Purdy. Who's that? Who's Brock Purdy?
Decimated.
And then next thing you know, it was crazy. That was the craziest thing. We were at the game together. I was like,
together.
It was like a Star is Born, like he was so good.
And I was not happy the rest of the
No, I wouldn't be happy either if that shit happened. I was like, because you're like, there's no way, because I think the Dolphins were winning at the time too.
You were up.
So when he came in,
it was 7-3. 7-3.
Like probably like, oh yeah, probably like give that 7. Oh yeah, this is good. We got this.
I think it was
the next thing you know,
towards the end of the 1st or something like that.
Mm-hmm. That was wild.
Getting back on topic, I like Jaden Daniels. I saw him play in the preseason against the Dolphins, and I don't know if this is a testament to Miami's terrible preseason defense or how amazing he was, but he was lighting it up. And I think with Dan Quinn, you got a new coach. I think they're obviously trying to change the entire culture over there. You pick up, Austin Eckler. You've got some, you've got some decent receivers there, and the dude looks like, an upper echelon, but he looks the part. He definitely looks the part.
He's gonna get you a lot of fantasy points rushing the football.
Yeah, and
he can scramble and get out of it.
And LSU is not some scrub school. You got some good experience there. So for me, I like that. I of the scenarios to be in, I think he might have landed in the best one. I think Caleb Williams has the most promise. But if we're talking this season, then this season I think Jaden Daniels is kind of my favorite. Bo Nix would be a very close second for me because I do think that scenario is a good scenario for him. I wouldn't want to be in that division. But again, Jaden Daniels has, the Cowboys and the Eagles to deal with. That's a division who knows? It could be anyone's, right?
I think the Eagles are going to be Eagles.
Yeah, probably. But the AFC West is, you're not going to unseat KC. That's just not going to happen. So you're playing for the wild card. You're playing for the 5 seed, right? And
you got to go against Harbaugh and Chargers, and like you kind of talked about last week, Harbaugh is going to come in and he's going to change the program. That's what he always does. He's a rah guy. It works. It definitely works at the beginning for those guys. He motivates them. It worked for the Niners. Yep. They went directly to the NFC Championship and then the Super Bowl, another NFC Championship with him. And so I think Chargers fans are like dying, because it's essentially like been so horrible for them for the past, since like they got destroyed in '94 by the Niners. The Super Bowl, it's like I feel like they haven't done anything since. Yeah, and I think with Harbaugh, they like you were saying too, that they're going to be a contender. He's going to make it so.
Yeah, for sure. I think. If I were to pick 2 teams from the AFC West, it would be the Chiefs and Chargers. Those are the 2 that the Denver could surprise. You never know. But Raiders quarterback.
Could. And I know a lot of people that are actually picking Denver to make the playoffs.
Interesting.
Like they think that highly of Bo Nix and his potential. Yeah, in Denver with Sean Payton, which is crazy. I don't know if it's just preseason hype, which it usually is, but yeah, but the Raiders don't really have a quarterback. They have Gardner Minshew, but Gardner Minshew, that should be interesting. You'll probably have some big games and some interesting games, but
their quarterback situation is in flux for sure.
Yeah,
it's going to be. I don't see much happening with the Raiders this year.
Yeah,
but again, that's why of all the rookie quarterbacks, to me, Jaden Daniels I think is in the best spot.
Mhm.
At least I think.
Yeah.
So let's see where they go. Let's see if Dan Quinn has it in him to take another team to the Super Bowl. Possible.
Oh, yeah.
Never know. I'm not saying this season. I'm just saying in general. I'm saying in general.
Yeah.
Hey, man, no one expected Atlanta to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, they had Matt Ryan. I remember we argued about this because everyone was like, "Oh yeah, Matt Ryan, he's the MVP." I'm like, man, he's not that good. Yeah, it was like a one-off type of season, right? Like before that, Matt Ryan was decent, right? But like that season under Shanahan, he became the MVP of the NFL. You know, he had Julio Jones. He had what was it, Devontae Freeman? I want to say. I think that was his name. And Tevin Coleman
had a good team.
I think. And did they have? Who's the other wide receiver with Julio Jones that year?
Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah.
All I know is they had a fantastic year with a terrible quarter and a half at the end of it.
Yeah, it's crazy. We're all rooting for the Patriots to lose. I know. I remember we were watching that game. We're like, please, what is happening? What is happening right now?
On the ball.
And then Shanahan comes to the Niners the next year, and they still blame him for the collapse, the offensive coordinator. Even though it was Matt Ryan's like goofy, he's the one that fumbled. Like they made some pretty bonehead plays at the end to even get out of field goal range.
Listen, no one ever I would be in that. I would be freaked out too if I was on a team that was winning 28-3 or whatever the score was, and then I just saw, and in the fourth quarter, just get closer and closer and closer and closer, and be like,
"What's a pucker up?
It's happening, dude.
Puckered up. That's a whole lot of pucker right there."
We're gonna end this episode here. If you've enjoyed it so far, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the PTW podcast. You play to win the game. Have our next episode sometime next week, previewing the NFL season, previewing
week 1.
Let's go.
Did they say LFG? Is that what the cool kids say?
LFG, baby!
Exclamation! Exclamation! Exclamation!
Yeah.
Yeah. Week 1.
One is
ready.
Get excited! Football season is here.
Yeah.
Your team loses in week 1, season's pretty much over. So
yeah.
Let's
or week 2 in your case.
Yeah. Week 2. Until next time, my name is Amir. That is Anastasios, also known as Tassi, the Football Greek. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.
All right.